Guys, I have such minimal justification for filming this on my laptop with my less than astounding camera quality. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, I recently had to switch to an iPhone because my other phone broke. My beautiful, beautiful LG G7, thank you. Or I guess it's think. I don't know who's supposed to think that way. Or not thinking, which is kind of ironic, but I digress. Anyway, I had to switch to my iPhone. My iPhone has no storage. The interface is ugly. I just overall, in a quite cantankerous experience, it does look nice with these rose stickers I stole off some wine bottles at Costco. This is what we have to work with. So, I've been meaning to start this channel for so long. I'm just lazy. There's no other excuse. So today I thought we would do October book wrap up for all the books I've read. I think I read 12 books. Being typical me, didn't make a list of the books I read as I read them. We'll see how good my memory is today because hindsight really gives you 20/20 vision. So yeah, I guess we'll just get into it because I hate introduction. First up, I'm gonna do the YouTuber thing. I popped the title either here or here. Sorry about this bad lighting. This lighting, it is kind of bad. But the first book I read this month, I think it was Lost Girl by Chanda Hahn. If you don't know who Chanda Hahn is, she's a self-published author on Amazon. I love Chanda Hahn. She wrote my favorite series when I was in elementary school. She really made me want to be an author. So I kind of recently made it a life goal to read all the books she's published just by pure virtue of her being such an inspiration to young me, young fetus child me. It is kind of cool conceptually. I find that's usually the case with Chanda Hahn books, is that it's cool conceptually, but then the actual execution is kind of lacking. So basically it is a Peter Pan retelling. Neverland is actually a mental hospital where they experiment on children to try and give them special abilities. And so obviously there is some success because we have Peter Pan who can now fly and things like that. And she managed to escape with all the kids when they all ran away from Neverland. And so Wendy doesn't remember any of this and she ends up in a foster home after they all escape, and it's kind of about her reconnecting with her past, remembering it, and joining the Lost Boys and all of that, and figure out what her powers are, if there are any powers. And she's also being hunted by shadows who she thinks are trying to kill her, and monsters too. So I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, but the characters are all kind of meh, and the romance is kind of half-baked and stuff like that. So for that reason, objectively, I have to give it a 2.5 stars. There's not much more to say on that. And then next, I honestly don't know what possessed me to read this book, and you can't judge me, okay? But I read Allison's Adventure in Underland, which was a Kindle Unlimited book, and I don't have words. I shouldn't have, but I loved it. It was so weird and crazy and absurd that I really enjoyed it. And I'm not someone who really likes books with a lot of sex in it, but the sex scenes in this book were so absurd. It was great. It was amazing. Basically, it's about this girl named Allison who's a descendant of the original Alan. She goes back to Underland, which has completely fallen apart. It's no longer Wonderland. Bad things have happened. The land needs to be healed. She's their prophesied savior, but in order to do that, she has to collect a harem of 9 men. So basically, Allison going around fighting bandersnatches, Jabberwockies, being a total badass, and also collecting super hot men to join her harem. All of them had distinctive personalities. I really like the main character, Alice. I think I'll be finishing the series. I won't even call it a guilty pleasure because I'm not ashamed. A sidetrack, but I feel reverse harems. Why do we call them reverse harems? Harems for girls. Is that really reverse? Reverse harem, I feel is monogamy. Is that just me, or let me know, I guess. Hey guys, I'm editing right now, and I just realized I already forgot to rate the book, so it's a 4 out of 5, and I'm just gonna leave it at that, and on to the next book. This book is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. Didn't expect to like this book, but I really did love it. It's basically about this girl, Tate, and then she meets this guy named Miles Archer. And Miles doesn't do relationships, just a commitment phobe. And Tate is I really like him. So they make an agreement. They're oh, let's have no strings attached sex. And Tate's well, if you won't be with me in a relationship, then I can sleep with him as long as I have him in some way. I don't care what way. One thing that really frustrated me about this book was Tate herself. Half the book is in her perspective. So the modern day part, because 2 timelines, one present day, one past day. She never grows a backbone. Literally learns nothing. I'm Tate, learn some self-respect, girl. You can't be waiting around for Miles forever. But of course that's what she does, and they end up happily ever after. But I think if you go into this book with the mindset that it's Miles' story, then you'll be okay. It really isn't Tate's story. It's all about Miles outgrowing some trauma. It's just beautifully done. I cried like 3 times during this book, which I guess isn't saying much because I normally cry at least once during a book. Even if it isn't sad, I will find a way. I don't want to give it 5 stars. A lot of things I hated about it. So I'm going to give it like a 4.5 stars. And yeah, read it. Please, I beg. This book deserves the hype. YOLO. Oh shoot, I forgot a book that I actually read. Let me go get it. I actually read this book before I read Ugly Love, and that is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was the first book I bought for my book shopping spree. I think I bought 45 books in total, which is insane. No wonder I'm broke. And that drawer over there is full of ramen, so what can I say? Living the college life. And so I was really excited for this book. The whole concept sounded really cool. It kind of sounded like episode, but I can be more justified in liking it because it's a book. I do kind of unironically enjoy episode from time to time if I'm reading the community stories. Don't read like the actual sponsor stories because they're garbage, okay? But remind me of that. Like I can maybe like involve myself as like a character a little bit in the sense that like Avery Grahams basically has to go around and like solve this riddle that this billionaire left her with like his grandsons. And I was like, oh, I wonder like if this is a book where I can look at the clues and try and figure it out before she does. Like I can kind of play along and figure it out. So I was like so excited for that. Honestly, it didn't really live up to that expectation. I didn't enjoy this book as much as I wanted to. The chapters are like a page and a half, and that's so annoying to me. It feels kind of lazy, like you couldn't draw the scene out longer. So basically, Avery Grahams is a girl, a random girl, chosen by a billionaire to inherit all of his estates and all of his money, and she has no idea why. Basically, she's trying to figure it out and just to live in the Hawthorne house for a year with his grandsons in order to get the money. Jameson was one of the love interests. He basically just like spoke in riddles and then got drunk and took off his shirt and then was like, bye, mystery girl, and that was like his personality. I really like Grayson, but I feel like Grayson didn't get enough attention. I thought he was a good love interest, so I quite liked him. I liked it enough, I think, but I didn't love it. So like maybe like a 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe you'll like it more if you're into YA and if you like mystery. So that's definitely something to keep in mind because I know I am not into those things. Next up, I read The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. It is Levenseller, right? She sells Levin. It's a bad joke. It's not even a joke. It's just sadness. Evidence that I am 2 brain cells short of being an amoeba. I was pretty excited for this book. I know it's like super hyped on Book Talk, which is impressive that I know about it because I'm not on TikTok. It sounds so good. This girl, Alessandra, plans to woo the king, marry the king, then kill the king, take the crown, which I expected this to go one of 2 ways. So either it was going to be a super, super, super slow burn, enemies to lover romance, which I super love as a subplot, or I was expecting her to fall in love with someone else and end up marrying the king anyway, which I think I would have preferred if she'd actually followed through because it's not what you would expect. I wasn't upset with how it ended. I thought the romance was actually fairly well done. I thought her and I thought his name was Callias until she like pronounced it, so I could not think he was hot for like the first 50 pages, but no, it's Callias, which I love. The chemistry between her and Callias was pretty convincing. I just like the whole middle though felt like really muddled for me. A lot of subplots, a lot of detours, a lot of random scheming to do random things. And like there was this big secret she was keeping since like the opening pages, and it was like stressing me out, bro. Like I was so stressed. I was like, I would be so stressed in her situation. I don't know how I would deal with it. And then like he was just like, okay, chill, whatever. I was like, that's it, bro? You had me stressed for nothing? I felt like the whole conflict of the book just like fizzled out, and that was like it. But I will say that I did really like his like whole shadow ability thing and the schematics of it. So I would give this book 3.5 stars. Like I liked it enough. I do recommend it. I just like I don't think it deserves all the hype. I wouldn't say like go ahead and read it now, but like I think it's like one of those books if you happen to like see it or pass by it or you have extra money and you don't know what to buy, like it's a pretty solid read. I don't really give 1 stars because I feel like people who give 1 stars don't understand like what a 1-star book is. I'll talk about this book later, but like To Kill a Kingdom, a lot of people give it 1 star, so I'm like, this is not a 1-star book. A 1-star book is like Harry Styles fanfic on Wattpad. This is not a 1-star book. It's at least a 3-star, objectively. Come on. Anyways, next up, I'm so excited to talk about this book. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Victoria Schwab. Victoria Schwab is by far one of my favorite authors. I love her ever since I read The Savage Song. I know this book is like really controversial. I don't know, it was just amazing. I have no words. It's like so well written. I think a lot of people complain the prose was too much, that it was like too heavy. I think it's because like a lot of people are used to the type of prose where it's like invisible, just like stitching, and it lets like the story like do the talking, but it's not there to actually be seen. But for like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, it's very clear that the prose is meant to be appreciated, analyzed, and I think that was a very good choice for this book. I just can't imagine it not being written this way. I think it would be a disservice to the book. Basically, if you don't know what it's about, Addie LaRue makes a deal with the devil so that she can live forever, only she doesn't realize every time she leaves the room, they'll forget about her. And so she can't own a house, have money, or have a job. So she just like spends 300 years kind of suffering like it's not everything she thought it would be. And honestly, like, it was so good. Characters in this book were just so well thought out, in my opinion. Addie LaRue was also such a darling character. I loved her so much. She actually reminded me a lot of my book protagonist, who was also named Adeline. And, like, there was such a great philosophical debate. I was thinking about it for, like, days. Can evil actually love? Can love be evil? Is it possible for him to when he's literal darkness? And so there's so much to debate there. And I was like, that is my favorite type of fiction. Type where you can really, really just, like, talk about it, like dissect it. And I don't know, this book is amazing. 5 out of 5 stars. I sincerely recommend that you read it. Okay, next up, I read November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I actually bought this book. I went out and I bought 3 more Colleen Hoover books after I read Ugly Love because I just loved it so much. I love the concept of this book too. Basically, there's this girl named Fallon and this boy named Ben, and they agree to meet every single day, November 9th, the same time. It's the only time each year they get to see each other. Oh, that sounds like good. I can't wait to see like why that is. Honestly, it like really disappointed me. I guess I didn't read It Ends With Us after this, but I guess I'll talk about it as well. I feel like this is a theme with Colleen Hoover. The more books I read by her, the less I like them and the more I wish I hadn't read them. I feel like if I had read, like, I don't know, I kind of hated November 9. Maybe I wouldn't have liked November 9 if I read it before Ugly Love. But I feel like if I read It Ends With Us before I read Ugly Love, I would have liked it more. And that's purely because in every single book I've read by her so far, and I'm in the middle of Confess right now, there's always super tragic, what are the odds, once in a million lifetime tragic event that happens. Like, honestly, it's so much. Like, Ugly Love, I could believe it. Like, it was major and it was sad. It doesn't happen often, but I could buy it. But November 9, with what Benton did, are you serious? It just felt so unrealistic. And literally, there's not a guy without like a super tragic backstory. And so, like, I did not like November 9 for that reason. Their insta love, they acknowledged it, but it was still kind of crusty. So I did really, really like Benton as a character. Like, I think I liked him as much as Miles. They literally were only together for 6 days this entire book, and not even like the whole day. Sometimes it was only like 2 or 3 hours, and she was mad at him like for half of the days. I give this book like 2.5 out of 5 stars. On par with Lost Girl. As for It Ends With Us, it's like a really heart-touching book. The end of it and the message of it almost made up the rest of it for me, but I just like, this book was frustrating. I hated Ryle. I cannot. He literally like gets on his knees, begs her to have sex with him after she tells him no, and then he like begs more. He literally like wraps his arms around her. He's on his knees begging her to have sex with him. Like, that's so cringe. He was just so cheesy. Like, everything he said, it was like, how is she falling for this guy? Like, how do you fall for a guy that begs you for sex? I hated Ryle. I loved the chapters about Atlas. Atlas was a great character. I feel like there wasn't enough of him. Also, the super tragic backstory. Like, the main character Lily has a super tragic backstory. Ryle has a super like insane tragic backstory that was like, what? That is too much, man. And Atlas had a really tragic backstory, and I just like couldn't wrap my head around it. I was like, Miss Colleen Hoover, you don't have to go to extremes with every character in every book to make a point. Like, I feel like I would have enjoyed It Ends With Us so much more if the trauma like she picked had been better placed and less dramatic. And like, on top of everything else, like with every Colleen Hoover book, I just get more frustrated with them because I'm like, why can't you just like choose a book without all the insane trauma? So It Ends With Us, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. I think it's like worth reading for the message, but like I really hated it until the end. There's that. I don't know. I don't know if I can recommend it in good conscience or not, but 4 out of 5 stars. I've been filming for 32 minutes, but we're almost done. Next up, I read Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. Did I read? Yeah. Next up, I read Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. Main character is Ellery, and she lives in a small town called Amity Falls. It's like kind of isolated from everything. I guess in like colonial America-ish times. I'm not sure though, it doesn't really specify. Surrounded by mountains, covered in snow, so they can't really leave, especially when it's winter. Basically, there are these creatures that surround the town, and they are evil. They'll like make deals with the people there because it's like a Rumpelstiltskin retelling. They'll grant your greatest desire if you give them a small favor back. So they use these small favors to turn everyone in the town against each other, create utter chaos. And honestly, I thought like Ellery was a pretty good character. Her love interest, I thought he could have been developed a bit more. more. I really liked how it focused on the family dynamics. The climax was just like, it was a lot, bro. The main critique I have with this book is the bad guys, because I was talking about this with my brother the other day because he watches anime but I don't. But they tend to have super good villains in anime. I've noticed Pain from Naruto, I think it was. He's a bad guy, but he has the best intentions. His plan is to inflict pain on everybody in the whole world, because if everybody knows pain, people won't want to inflict it on anyone else, and so the world will be a better place for it. She's a really interesting character, but books, they're always underdeveloped, and it frustrates me. And I felt like that was definitely the case here, because in the creatures, you get to explore them as humans a bit more, and what it means to be human. And it's I wish there's more motivation to it than they just want to cause chaos, because I really don't think that's the case because of the reasons they went there, which you'd have to read the book to find out. I wish there was more discussion on that, on why they did that, adding more depth to the villains rather than they just want chaos. I just think that's a weak motivation. I really wish it was more developed than that. But overall, I really like this book. I would give it a 4 out of 5 stars. I think you should definitely pick this up if dark YA fantasy is your sort of thing. Next, I read To Kill a Kingdom. I was really excited to read this book because I love all sorts of historical type books, sea books, mermaid books, royalty books. The concept is super cool. This princess siren named Lyra has to steal the heart of a prince every single year. One year she does something to get herself in trouble and her mom punishes her. Oh, you have to go steal the heart of a pirate. And Lyra's oh my gosh, this is the most insulting thing I've ever had to do. So she resolves to go get the heart of a pirate prince whose sole job is to find sirens and kill them. He just wants to murder all of siren kind, and of course she's a siren, and it's a hate to love romance, and it's super slow burn, but I personally really liked it. It wasn't overpowering. It focused on the main external plot. The characters are both really well put together. I can't think of much else I would say about this, even though I just read it. I feel like it's a solid 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was pretty good. Next up, I started rereading the Unenchanted. I started reading the Unfortunate Fairy Tale series by Chanda Hahn. Like I said earlier, I think the series is what made me want to be a writer in elementary school. It's objectively, it's not that good. Conceptually, I think it's really clever, except for the last half of the last book, which I pretend didn't happen. But mostly the first book's whatever. The fourth book is so good. So I read the first book in the series, Unenchanted, and the second book in the series, Fairest. So basically, on the whole, series is about a girl named Mina who gets better as the series goes on. She's super annoying in the first couple of books because she's just insecure, and it's her whole personality. She inherits a curse passed down her family line that's called the Grim Curse. She is cursed to have to live out. How to explain this? To live out every single fairy tale there is. 200 and something of them, and if she can beat all of them, then the curse will end. Only every time someone can't beat it, they have to start over. So Mina inherits the curse. In the first book, it's Red Riding Hood. The second one is obviously Snow White. The series is just so good. It has a really, really good enemies to lover romance. It's one of my favorite romance arcs ever. Conceptually, again, execution's kind of lacking. So objectively, if I had to rate the first book, it would be a 2-star. It really hurts for me to say that, but objectively, it's a 2-star. I didn't even edit it before publishing it. This one, I feel it's a 2.5-star, but the heart wants what the heart wants. And that's actually all the books I read, I think. Oh, anyways, I don't really know how to cut this off. Yeah, have a nice day, and I will see you next time.